Hello and welcome to another installment of how to write LGBT characters and why you should anyway. I'm making a lot of these videos. Why? Because they are people's favourites. Today we are going to be talking about how to have a character come out in the narrative, because it's something I always reference, something I always sort of tell you should do, but I realised I didn't actually provide any clarity for what that actually looks like. So, unfortunately, I will not be casually yanking books off the shelf to show you good examples, because I have yet to find any, but let's get into it. So I'm going to start with the big no-go. If you are a cisgender, heterosexual, heteroromantic person, a straight person who is not trans, maybe don't write the realisation and first ever coming out story, because you will never handle it as well as a queer person would. And I just don't think you've got the scope for it. Like, I don't want to be there like, you're not special, but in this regard, I just don't think you have the life experience for it. I don't think you can handle it as well as a queer author can, and you not being queer would take up the space for somebody else's, some actual queer authors' coming out narrative that they desperately want to make or think that they can make very well from a position of experience. It is such a different experience being on each end of that coming out spectrum, because as someone who has come out for the first time for two different things, so that is the bisexuality and the trans/non-binary identity, I've had to do both of those on two separate occasions to my friends, to my family, and each first one, especially when you're very early in realisation, is just so hard. And I think if you really desperately want to write a coming out narrative, just put it from a different character's perspective. Put it from the character who's known for a while, the first person they actually ever came out to, and have them sort of watch as their friend tries to go through this very difficult experience. Because even if your family is very supportive in the end, and like mine, it's still not easy, and like it could be really interesting to read the story from the perspective of someone who's kind of observing it all happen. So if you're desperate to write a coming out story, try that. So okay, what types of coming out are there that I actually mean? If that's off limits, what can you do? How do you have a character come out in the narrative? Well, there are three broad categories for how to have a character come out in the narrative. There is coming out to a person you've just met for the first time, but not your first ever coming out when you're quite settled in your identity. What do I mean by that? That's quite a long title. What do I mean exactly? I mean that, say I've just met a person, I sort of build a little bit of, actually I'm a bad example, I am a terrible example. Say Ami's just met me for the first time, this is Ami, has just met me for the first time. And we're sort of building a rapport. We've met a couple of times at like work or a writing event or whatever, at the arcade. And Ami's there like, oh, actually, Will, I've got something I'd like to tell you. I'm not doing the voice. Ooh, I have something to tell you. I'm not doing the voice. That was bad. And I'd be like, what do you have to tell me, Ami? And Ami's going to be there like, I am an asexual person, alien. And I'd be like, cool, great. So that is one example of how you can have a character come out in the narrative, is when they've just met someone and they've sort of built the rapport, and you can put it kind of anywhere in the book, or whatever version of storytelling you're doing. It usually comes out at quite sort of like convenient moments, so like when you're talking about people you find attractive, like celebrities or whatever, when you're talking about bringing a date to an event like prom or a big ball or the company's winter party, things like that. It's usually relevant to whatever you're talking about. I don't just casually walk up to people and go, did you know I'm a bisexual person? Like, most people don't do that. You can have them like, yeah, that's the first one, like coming out to a person for the first time, but not coming out for the first time. The second one is the casual reminder, which is people who are very settled into their identities might sort of throw it into conversation. And it's not like actively, usually not actively to remind people that you are in fact your identity, because the vast majority of the time, the first time you come out kind of sticks. Not always, but we'll skim over that for now. So the first time you come out to people, it usually sticks, people usually remember. But it is kind of nice to throw it around every once in a while, because sometimes people do kind of, not forget, but like it slips their mind, and they kind of neglect to remember it, I suppose is a better way of phrasing it, because it's not forgotten. They know that you're queer, but it's like, yeah, it's that casual reminder. I do this quite a lot with my friends, where I'll just sort of throw it out and be there like, haha, non-binary humour, haha, haha, haha. And like the non-binary thing is the thing that I tend to fall back on and remind people of, because it means using they, them pronouns, and I think it's important, because of the world that we live in now, to remind people more often that I am non-binary than it is to remind people that I'm bisexual, especially because I am in a monogamous relationship with my wife, who I'm legally married to my wife. I'm not wearing my wedding ring because I'm having a hand tantrum. Well, rather, my hands are having a tantrum. It's not relevant. It's life. So yeah. So like casually throwing it into conversation. It's non-binary humour. Wow. You know, I always kind of saw myself settling down as a woman, like just throwing stuff like that around. And like sometimes it is with purpose. It is that intentional thing of like, I think you've forgotten that I am a queer. Do not phrase it like that. That's just like a tongue-in-cheek thing for me and however many of you watch this video. But yeah, the other sort of casual thing that is like the casual reminder is wearing like pride clothes. I am currently wearing a t-shirt with a dragon on it, which is definitely not pride clothes. It is a The Hobbit t-shirt, in case you're interested. I did buy it from Hobbiton, in case you're interested. But yeah, so it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like, do I have anything in this room that is queer? Just like, wedding photos, pride beads, and probably most relevantly, actually, is my big fuck off non-binary flag in the window. Because, you know, we don't have curtains. But yeah, so like those are the kinds of things that might be the casual reminder more than a verbal casual reminder. Like I've seen people with "This is what trans looks like" t-shirts. I've seen people with just generally like the Stonewall charity t-shirts. Some men marry men, get over it. Or some guys marry guys. I don't remember what the actual, because they've got like 100,000 of their slogans. They're really fun. Some people are bi, get over it, stuff like that. And like pride bands with the flag, again, as you've seen, my big non-binary flag in the window. I have a non-binary flag lanyard. All of these things I've picked up from Pride. Pride badges, for me, I've got like several different they them badges that I can wear at different events and in different sort of social contexts, so that they are always like relevant and appropriate to the occasion. Things like that. Just the casual, I feel safe to joke about this, I feel safe to wear this t-shirt, I am comfortably settled enough in my identity that I'm not that fussed about what people might be thinking when they see me. I don't feel like I'm in danger. And then the third type of coming out is having another character out your queer character with said queer character's permission, whether written or unwritten. So what do I mean by that? I mean like having a character say to another character, so you and Steve, you never settled down? Oh no, Steve's gay, so that wouldn't have worked. I'm just going to point out that that was theoretically from a female character's perspective, but I didn't specify that. Or like, Jim's not coming to the communal showers with us? Oh no, Jim's trans, so he doesn't really like communal showers. He'll just go home and shower and come back later. Things like that. I didn't want to make Sarah uncomfortable, but I noticed that she like was wearing these really sort of very covering pajamas, and I just wanted to make sure she wasn't like cold or anything. But I don't know. I don't know her that well. And like, oh yeah, no, Sarah, she's trans, and like she's fine with me telling you. but she's a little bit uncomfortable with dysphoria, you know, that kind of thing. All of those things are totally appropriate. It's really useful if you can throw in that your queer character has given permission for their friend to tell other people, unless you have specifically written a world that does not include any form of queerphobia, in which case you've got a lot more freedom to do stuff with queer characters because you don't have to kind of balance that in there. But you do have to bear in mind that we do live in a world, and your readers live in a world where queerphobia is a real thing, and it's a real part of most queer people's lives day to day. And that absolutely sucks, and that's one of the reasons I hate seeing it in fiction, is because it's like, I have to deal with this all day. Could we just not? And I do think it should be a content warning if you're gonna include queerphobia. So, seems like it should be the end of the video. It's not. But wait, there's more. I wanted to throw out a couple of eek maybe don'ts, because eek maybe don't do these things. And that is, don't out someone without their consent, whether in fiction or in reality. It is not let's just be really frank about this. It's a dick move. Don't do it. And if your characters do it, it's still a dick move. So unless you're trying to turn them into like a dickish character and like make the plot point of maybe you shouldn't have done that, maybe don't do that. It's not cool to out someone without their consent, especially in a world that has got queerphobia in it, because it's just not fair. You are literally actively putting someone at risk. Or your characters are literally actually putting what is potentially their friends at risk. It's not a good friendship move. Thing number 2, eek maybe don't, is don't tokenize the other characters. Like, if you want to have them come out in the narrative and you're thinking, ooh, the best way to do that is to have them be there like, oh, this is my friend Jim, he's trans. This is my trans friend Jim. No. That's a really bad move, and it is going to send pretty much every queer person who reads your book into, well, I'm never reading that author again. Unless it's like, this is my friend Brick. Brick uses they them pronouns. Or rather, this is my friend Brick, they use they them pronouns. Unless it's something like that, which is kind of outing someone because you are sharing what their pronouns are, and when you're using they them pronouns, you're fairly obviously non-binary. Or something under the non-binary umbrella. But ultimately, like, that's okay, but like, this is my trans friend Jim is not okay. Yeah, in the same way that you shouldn't say this is my disabled friend Jen, this is my black friend Joe. Like, no, you can't do that. That is way tokenizing A, your theoretical friendships, and B, your characters. And again, you just tokenizing people it's not a good look. Probably don't want to do it. I hope that didn't come across tokenizing, because that would be really ironic and like not in a funny way, in like a bad way. So yeah, that's it, that's the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Think about subscribing to the channel if you want to see more how to write LGBT characters and why you should anyway, as well as deciphering writing advice and my self-publishing journey. Yeah, if you have any questions, any queries, any things you would like me to cover, feel free to put them in the comments. And if you want to find me elsewhere on the internet, everything you need to be able to find me is in the description box below. I will see you next time.